Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Political No Brainer, the podcast where we move fast, where it takes all politics and into real conversation. And I'm glad to be here today with Eduardo Guitron. He's been in the U.S. Army for over 20 years, Special Forces. And something me and John Lapido, Lieutenant Colonel John Lapido, discussed is the military experience and how it really works well and how it really bodes well for you when you get out in real life. You have a lot of great experiences. You're able to offer a lot of great services. But something me and Eduardo were just talking about is sometimes people just don't want to pay for those services. And so I found it interesting on the pre-interview. So you're in the military, you're basically going to get out and tell that story. You had a discussion with a friend, you made a decision together. I found that really interesting.
For sure. I don't mind telling it again. It's because the more I tell it, chuckles to me. So my friend asked me in 2009 in May, I visited him in Quantico when he was in training. I drove down from Fort Meade. He asked me to go to selection with him. And I was like, sure, which one? PSYOP, Civil Affairs, SF. He says SF. Okay, when do you want to go? October 09. So October 09 comes around. I show up. I didn't see him there. Fast forward to the end of selection. I already got my MOS and I got the language. I got my phone back. I give him a call. I'm like, hey, Tim, man, are you okay? Yeah, why? I was like, well, you asked me to go to selection with you. I'm here. Are you hurt? Is there a family emergency? He hangs up the phone. I text him. No answer. I said, screw it. I don't care. I'm going to go ahead and go eat because I'm really hungry. So I get back to Maryland and we used to play Call of Duty on PlayStation 3. That's how old I am. And I noticed that he deletes me and blocks me on the gamer tag. So I can't even play Call of Duty with him anymore. So I tell my friends about this. I'm like, dude, he totally ghosted me. He asked me to go to selection with him. I didn't even want to go. I think I'm still going to get out of the Army, but I decided to stay in and through some highs and lows. I'm glad I did it. But originally I was getting out of the Army. I was ACAP and I was transitioning to get out and he asked me to go. And I said, sure. I said, why not? And mind you, he was a drinking friend. And this is why I'm not really big on drinking anymore or playing video games. Waste of time, honestly. So yeah, I enjoy other vehicles and other ways of managing my time. I get an education or make money. I like making money. So
Well, that's really an incredible thing that you went, you decided, hey, I'm waiting on this guy to get back with me. You go into this training, you actually qualify because selection's not doesn't necessarily mean you're going to make the cut. You
right.
make the cut, you get the job. We'll call it get the job. You're now in the Army Special Forces, and you get you made the cut, right? Then comes Army Special Forces training. Do you want to talk about Army Special Forces training at all?
Mm-hmm. So the Q course itself wasn't bad. I would tell anyone. The Q course isn't hard, but it's easy to get kicked out. And it's easy to get kicked out is because you can come in on a bad day and if an instructor or someone that really has like a lot of weight over who stays and who goes sees you, hey, this guy is not displaying the right attitude or the right decorum. Let's keep an eye on him because maybe we'll want to push him out. I've seen that happen to a few people. Some people absolutely deserved it. In my opinion, there was others that didn't. And I would tell you, so long as you do your job, you're professional, you're physically fit, you get in where you fit in, that's really all it is. And having some soft skills really goes a long way. Disrespect will cost you everything. I mean everything. It will, and I can. It's cost me before. We can get into that later. How it's cost me before everything in most cases. And then, but having just that kindness, that respect towards people, even people you don't like, even if there's somebody whose face you don't like, even if it's someone who smells bad, even if it's somebody who annoys you, just being kind to them and respectful to them goes a long way. It really does. And just one time, all it takes is to be disrespectful. You lose credibility by the truckload because you earn credibility by the spoonful. You don't get a whole bunch of it in most cases. So you got to get that momentum. And that's how it is, in my opinion, in any industry, especially in special operations. Everyone's always judging you. So I didn't really have another pressure about it because in my mind, I was already in about 10 years in-ish, 11 years when I got in there. So in my mind, I was like, I can do easy 9 years doing this. I didn't care, so, but instead I did 12. So that's how it goes.
Well, here's something really interesting. This is an important life skill. It's not just about the military. It's not just about special forces. You can walk into any job and some manager can just decide he's going to really, I guess you would say, blow smoke up your ass. I guess I could say that on the podcast.
Yeah, you can.
And that life skill in and of itself alone, Warren Buffett says one of the greatest lessons he ever learned is you can always wait till tomorrow to tell somebody to go to hell. You can
Yes.
always wait till tomorrow. There's no need to address everything instantly. There's no need. And when you have that skill, that understanding of how to, like you said, gain that credibility, because for whatever reason, that person is pushing your buttons to see if you can earn that credibility. It's almost like a push and shove game, right? So, would you ever say, I'm always looking for a young person who doesn't join the military? Is there a chance that somebody like you could get into a high school and talk to kids in an auditorium full of them that none of them will join the military, but you could teach that one lesson to them?
I could. I'm actually very open to that. I need to really connect because I want you to know I want to do that, but I enjoy more than that. I enjoy being a father. I have a 4-year-old son. There's, and I grew up and I want you to know a little bit of my background. My parents are Mexican immigrants. So how it works is the father goes and works all the time. The mother took care of the home all the time. I love my dad, but I didn't really see him a lot because he always worked. And, you know, I still love them. They're together to this day. It's just that I wished he was around more. And knowing that how I wanted that as a 4-year-old and 5-year-old, and my son's 4 right now, I want to do that so bad. But I want to also know that my kid knows I'm still his hero. And I wanted to stay that way. My biggest flex in life will always be my son always wanted to hang out with me. And I want to keep that. That's my biggest flex. I could brag about my friends and I could brag about that my son loves me and wants to hang out with me. But as far as that goes, I would love to go to an auditorium, not even full of kids, but just people in general. You know, like you say you made a mistake in life or you're around the wrong people. I can give them literally many cases. Even in the army, I've been around the wrong people. We have those too. We have every form of society here. So yes, but the answer to the question is I would love to do that. I would.
That's really like, and that is something. It is an important lesson that you can do without giving a lot of time because kids need to hear that. I don't know if you've ever listened to it. There was this Admiral McCraven. He does this video about the 10 things he learned in the military. One was the sugar cookie thing, where you roll around, you run in the water, you roll around in the sand, and all day you wear these wet, sandy, soaky ass clothes because you messed up, and everybody's gonna mess up to the point where they become the sugar cookie for the day. And
Oh
in
yeah.
life, some days you're that sugar cookie. You're that guy that gets everybody just messing with you. But if all you do is you fly off the handle and start swinging at everybody, you've lost all credibility. Whereas if you stand up to it with patience and respect and laugh at yourself, you're going to gain, like you said, you gain those spoonfuls of credibility one day at a time. But they're important spoonfuls because one, you'll never be the sugar cookie again. And
True.
two, it's really a great lesson to learn in life. And I'm always looking for kids. I see kids, I know because I talk to young people all the time. I know that they have these hangups. They feel like they've lost all respect on a bad day. And that's when they really lose everything, when they really lose it.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny, especially if they're young in high school. And I'll tell you, let's talk about them, high school kids, right? Dude, I was an average kid. I played water polo, wrestling, and swimming. I'm from California, right? So they don't have water polo here in Florida. I wish they did. I want my son to learn it so bad because those 3 sports, I want to tell him someday, came paramount in the base of what I can do physically. There's nothing that I can't do in my mind. You know, I'm like, cool. And I learned that as a high school kid, but I wasn't popular. I was awkward. I was average. I wasn't anyone great. But I will tell you this: all the popular kids that were great at or great at football, great at whatever sport, a lot of them didn't really amount to anything. Looking back 22 years, they didn't. They didn't amount to anything. And I kept it low key, you know, for the most part. I did some cool things and I never really wanted to make a big deal about it. I didn't go back home and say, hey, look at me. But I will say this: you don't have to be the popular kid. You don't even have to be the dorkiest kid. All you got to do is have grit. And all you got to do is, so what if you were the fat kid? So what if you were the skinny kid? In high school, doesn't even matter. It doesn't. I wish kids knew that. Yeah, you maybe got, you know, you did something embarrassing, you know, but nobody cares because 10 years from now, you get jacked, you make a lot of money. Who cares? You know, nobody cares. 10 years from now, what, you were 16 when that happened, you're 26, even better when you're 36 and you've positioned yourself in places in, you know, not only monetarily, but socially and hopefully with a family by then, maybe. Who cares about all that? I wish I could tell kids that nobody cares if you were a dork or a dweeb or you're popular now. Let's see how your status is in 20 years. Can you keep it? Can you freaking elevate it? Nobody cares in high school.
And that's really a beautiful lesson. That's really something a lot of kids need to hear because they really gauge their whole life. And I hate to use the term, but there are kids who don't fit in. And if they heard that lesson, because we do have a problem that's minimally reported on of teenage suicide, minimally reported on. They don't report it to lessen the problem, to make the problem.
I do, and I have a problem with that. One of the things I just want to, anything online is going to be immortalized. So I want my son, in case I have an unfortunate accident, any one of my trips, to know dad wanted to make life better for him. And there's things out there. There's like a few influencers out there that's telling kids at like 15, 16, here, take Tren, take Adderall to cut up. Do you have any idea what those substances will do to you mentally and physically? It will mess you up. So you have these kids with the pressure of getting attention from the opposite sex just so that they can go ahead and look good and looks max or whatever they're calling it. It is disgusting to me. And this is not helping the epidemic because this is what these kids are being pressured by with social media and some influencers saying, yeah, ruin your body, look good, burn out by the time you're in your early 30s. And by the way, don't worry if you lose your hair. Don't worry if you look like crap, from the chemical compounds that are in your body. You have people out there telling teenagers to do that. And what I'm afraid of is that my son ever listen to that. So I'd rather him listen to good content. I'd rather him listen to good examples. I want him to be around good people and to tell him, you don't need that. You can go natural the whole way. You don't need that. And if people you're around want you to do that, they're not your friends. Much like those drinking friends I told you about. I don't drink anymore because of that. It's like, why were you guys my friends to begin with? I made the dumbest decisions. Why would I want my son to be around people like that? I hope he learns those choices and those decisions early in life and not later like I did, but that's what I hope for. But I'm totally against kids listening to the wrong people, and there needs to be more people out there, more access to information to empower them the right way. And what right looks like for them is what right looks like differently from the next person too. So we have to be very culturally astute to what does right look like for this kid in this culture and this kid from this culture. And there's a multicultural disconnect, absolutely, from kids to teenagers to even adults now. So nobody knows which way is up anymore because up is whatever gets you the most clicks and gets you the most attention now. It's kind of sickening.
Well, you know what's really interesting about what you just said, on top of everything you just said, is really interesting. The fact that you could be that influencer, there should be more of you doing that kind of influencing on social media, counteracting the kind of influencing that is just that kind of, that they're trying to sell you that crap, and they're trying to get you hooked on that crap. And that's really important. And you've learned all those lessons essentially the hard way, but you've learned them at a young enough age that you've benefited from in a great way. And one of those great ways was your great success in your military career. Now you've left the military, you've got this retirement, you go on, carry on, like you said, and be with your son all the time. This is the kind of thing kids need to hear. Straightforward. You're gonna pick this, or you could pick this. And I picked this, and look at me now. Onto your out of the military, you're doing security, right? And just like you said, one of the things you were doing, there you are, being you're the dad you want to be. That's great. And there's a lot of people that when they don't learn these lessons early on in life, they miss being the dad they want to be, the family man they want to be. And this story will be great for my podcast because I want to publish this because one of the things I want to teach kids is how to succeed in life. And
No, I'm glad to help your platform. And I want you to know and something because I think real stories, in my opinion, give more power and more breadth and depth to, your platform and your audiences. As I was getting out, I'm gonna let you know I didn't look like this. I actually looked cheeks sunk in, eyes puffy, sunk in as well. I was going through a lot, and it wasn't transitioning out of the military. It was things with his mom and I. I was going through a very. She got into substance abuses and partying out here, and she had actually a full ride scholarship from the Green Beret Foundation to go to nursing school. She only passed the second semester and afterwards dropped out because of the partying, the substances and whatnot. So when I mean I'm against drinking, drugs and all that, I can't tell you how vehemently, emphatically I'm against it because, I had to deal with that shit. And I'm sorry if I cussed, but I didn't expect to have that happen to me. And even my closest friends at the time didn't expect it to happen. but life can hit you. And, at times, and I will be honest with you, like all her friends, they know to fear me and they should. But the problem is I know rule of law and I do have the propensity for necessary violence. And that's just something that'll never just leave me. It's just the way I am. I never broke the law, but I will say I know I've came to that point where I wanted to. And even with the justifiable reasons. And it's because of that. It's like I have to hold back and restrain so much. And it is a very difficult task for me to do. I have to stay busy and I have to look at the greater goal. The second and third order effects of every decision could affect you. So even me at 42, I do have those propensities that teenagers have, but it is from a different lens. And it's not even justified in most cases. I just don't want my son to be around those people. I don't want my son to be around druggies. I don't want my son to be around people who drink a bunch of alcohol. I don't even want my son to be in a bar, and that does set me off. So I have my flaws. I'll let you know, I am not a perfect dad. And I wish he did not have some of my tendencies. And some of them is to pop off on people when they're doing something silly. And I'm like, dang, you should learn to control that. Maybe I need to be better too, because he's going to watch me every time. I know that was kind of like a big, whirlwind of it I just sent you and you didn't expect that, but that is what happened to me as I was getting out. I mean, I was getting out of shape. I wasn't looking as I look now. I look defeated. And in most cases, I see guys don't come back from that. And I've seen a lot of guys self-delete from that. And I knew it wasn't going to be me. And as I mentioned before, my son was barely 2 when it was happening. Barely knew that, barely remembered that, thank God. But, going forward, I knew I got to have big goals for him, big goals for me. And he's going to see me make those goals. And I want him to always know dad's going to be there and dad's going to still do great. Because back to how I see my dad, I love and respect my dad. My dad wasn't really my hero, but I love him. I love him and my mom. And I wanted him to be my hero so many times as a kid. I want my son to know, hey, not only is dad going to do things that you can proudly tell your friends about someday, but your dad is always going to be there for you. And I want to position him in a place where he can have those choices so he can have the life that he wants to have. Hopefully he doesn't screw it up. I'll be really pissed if he did, though.
You certainly will be, but he probably won't, because he's got you by his side and he's going to learn from your lessons, because there's a big thing about not making the same mistakes you did, because you're going to convey that message routinely to him. And that's the message I convey to my kids too, is just, I got it. You're going to make mistakes. But if I really tell you something's really bad, just take my word for it. You don't need to make every mistake I made. You're absolutely entitled to make your own mistakes, but you don't need to make every mistake I made, because that's just not necessary simply in life. Now, I got a question. When you got out and you said what was the hard time about getting out? So one of the things I do is I volunteer at the homeless shelter for veterans. And I know that they were productive human beings. I know they served in tough positions, tougher positions than I've ever served in. I wasn't in the military. And they persevered in those positions. None of them have dishonorable discharges. They made the cut. They did the job. They left with honorable discharges, but something affected them. And one of the things is PTSD. The other thing I've learned from talking is they went in the military without any life skills, and they really didn't leave the military with the ability to buy a home. When they went in the military, they had a home, they had food, they had 3 hots in the car. So what was the transition for you like? And you could have wound up in that situation of being a homeless veteran, but you didn't. Obviously, you persevered and you prevailed and you did great. Why? What was the challenge for leaving the military? Did you miss it all, or?
I want you to know that I've known those people. When they got out, they never heard from them again. Next thing we heard, they were like homeless somewhere in Texas or Chicago or California or Florida. And I was young in my career when I would ask what happened. They're like, nobody knows. But the more into the military, I served, I saw what was happening and I couldn't speak to it, but everyone has their own story. And here's what I can see. You just mentioned 3 hots in a cot. So I'm going to go ahead and simplify that as well. You are protected from the recession, any recession when you're serving. You can literally live in the barracks, or they're going to give you a BAH and you can share with another buddy. You can all 3 of you, which I did. All 3 of us were in one house. So it's an instant paycheck increase, right? We're all sharing resources. We're all sharing our PAH to pay for rent, electricity, and whatnot. So we pretty much increased our pay there. Not everyone's going to do that though. But when you're protected from a recession, you literally have no worries in the world. Now you face the real world. You're not protected from anything. And I think they took it for granted. That's one. Two, while they were in, I mentioned, what kind of friends do you have? You have the drinking friends? Cool. What are your drinking friends going to do? They're going to drink every weekend. Okay. They, as big boys and big girls, are entitled to do so. They don't have to get a degree. They don't have to learn a trade while they're in. They want to go ahead and blow off steam. That's fine. I've seen too much of that. So around the 15-year mark in my career, I actually didn't want to be in the military anymore. I was actually very much burnt out. I was burnt out. And I'll make this story shorter. We can go on another story. We'll really deep dive what really happened in the background. But I started buying houses while I was in. And since I've been serving since 2001, there's a lot of deployments I was on. I saved a lot of that money and I invested a lot of that money. So I bought about 10 houses in the area. And when I got out, I had 10 houses. There was no way I was going to go homeless, mainly because I knew about the homeless veteran, dilemma. I wasn't going to be that. But also, I wanted the opportunity to say no to an employer. A lot of people that get out and they work for someone that pisses them off because they don't understand them. Okay, so if you can't meet these people in the middle, that's fine. You have a choice to say, no, I don't want to work here no more. They don't have that choice because they didn't make the right decisions getting out. They didn't set up their lives. They didn't position themselves with the right money, the right investments, the right people, the right team. And they don't know to do that. I know how to do that. Like, I wish I'll do it for free. I swear to you, I would do it for free. I'd even talk to service members. I'm like, hey, if you're not out with at least a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, maybe you should stay in. I got out with a bachelor's degree because my buddy told me, don't get out without a bachelor's. I should have got out with my master's, but I was 1 year into it. And I just said, screw it, I don't want to do it anymore. I was going through life issues, like I just explained to you. And I'm about to finish my master's here in about a month. So, and then I'm going to go to law school because I say, screw it, I want to do more. I owe it to me. I owe it to me and I owe it to my son. I can't just stop.
Mom, Daddy.
Yeah, Papa. Can I talk on the phone?
Okay, bro, can we go to get pizza, please?
I will. We will. I'll buy them all pizza. Okay? I love you. I will. I'll buy you all pizza, I swear.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he starts.
Yeah, I'll buy all you guys pizza. It's fine. But I want him to know that it's not the end of the road, because once we reach the end of the road, I think you die. I need to let him know, just because you reach the end, it's not the end. And most of these guys that get out, okay, I did it. Adrenaline dump. Now I can live. No, you start living when you start doing more. If you want to relax, I have friends that became recluses out in the woods, doing ayahuasca, doing drugs. These guys are paragons and titans when they're in. These guys are people that did so many great things for our country. They want to choose that life. It's fine. I wish I can tell them to do more, but that's their choice. I didn't want to do that. I'm not going to knock on that, but I do know there was more for them they can give, not only for themselves, but maybe for a community that they didn't know that needed them. Once you enter public servitude, you have a choice. You can go private like I did, but even if I go private like I did, like I still want to at least deliver a message for the future, because I have one boy. I actually want more kids. I do. I want more kids because I don't know where the world's going, but I do know that I want a better world for him. And if I have kids, I have more kids. Yeah, you could have a twin brother. So
Nice.
I know it seems like a little over the top there, but I'm telling you a piece of my mind. When we get out, it's the end of the road. And if you feel like it's the end, then it will be the end. When I got out, it was a little different for me. I was going through things and I
gotta tell you, this is everything I'm searching for on this podcast every day, is real life lessons and digging deep and understanding. Because just like you said, there's one thing that's funny. I always say, has anyone ever told an abused housewife, be glad you have a spouse? When it comes to jobs, when you hear people telling you being crapped on every day, and you say, just be glad you have a job in this economy, be glad you have a job. No, plan ahead, have some money in the bank, have that ability to tell that employer to jump in a lake, because that is a big part of success in life. I love what I do, everything I do every day. But if I didn't, I'm in a position to say, I don't want to do no more. I'll take my time to find something else. And that's a good position to be in. Just like you said, that's something everybody needs to know. And that just explained a lot to me about what happens in the military, how it happens to you after life in the military. I know these people were great successes in the military, and I'm shocked to see how they're living now. I feel bad for them. And not that I feel bad for them. I don't understand why they're in the positions they're in. You know,
I don't understand either, but I do know, again, everyone has their individual struggles. While they're in, it could have been struggles from divorce, not seeing their kids anymore. I know this guy. I actually dated his sister for a bit back when he was in, and she's just a sweet woman too. But he had told me one of his biggest regrets was he had a kid with somebody back when he was living in Texas. I'm sorry, South Carolina. And he was never able to see his kid because who he had a kid with was not a very agreeable person or didn't want to meet him in the middle. So he pretty much never saw his boy. And then he got married and he had another child, but I don't know if it was between the alcohol, the traumas of war. He got kicked out of the military for alcohol and just other reasons, and he disappeared to obscurity as well. And I'm telling you, this guy, way more potential than I could ever have. And I say that honestly. I'm not saying it because of what happened to him. Smarter than me, picked up languages easier than me. He was a get in where you fit in. He didn't care if you weren't paying him extra. He didn't care about any of that. He just wanted to help your boys. He was better at that than most people. And then when I see that happen to him, it hurts.
it hurts.
It hurts bad. And it makes me want to do more. When I know that happened to him, it makes me want to go ahead and do more.
Well, this has been, but
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was thinking about him right now. It was like terrible because I haven't thought about him in a while.
well, I can tell you it hurts me to see these guys. I didn't know them personally. I didn't know them when they were young, but I'm literally like, I'll show up at a grocery store and they'll give me bread from the day before, give me pastries from the day before, and that's their food for the day. When I bring it to that lobby, it's basically a repurposed hotel. When I bring it to that lobby, they come down and that's essentially their food for the day. They do have money for other things or a food. They can pick and choose what they want to use their money for, but they don't mind making that their food for the day and doing other things with the per diem they get from the state or how they earn their, if they go out and do a day's labor with a construction crew or something. The fact of the matter is, looking at them, it hurts to know that they served their country, that they gave me my freedom, they gave me my ability to have the opportunities I have, and yet they're struggling like this. And getting to the bottom of it rather than just arguing the point that we're not doing enough. I want to know more. I want to know how to do more, understand it. And it's just incredible some of the things you offered right now.
Yeah. Again, everyone's situation is different, but I do know that they have to take personal responsibility and accountability. And yes, life is terrible. There's guys I know that lost their whole family in a car accident. So you can imagine the mental trauma they went through, right? And I lost contact with them. And it's just kind of one of those, I have life to go on as well. I have to raise my own family. I have my own issues and struggles as well. The older I got, the more I realized the less time I had to worry about my buddies or just that random person. Just, I've had people when I was in the 82nd, when I was still in, the conventional forces. I don't know why they just come up and just talk to me. And I was just cool with them, hearing them now, and they were having a bad day. And we'd have chow with them in the chow hall, just for that weekend. I never saw them again, but I think they appreciated that. It was when the older I got, it was like, you don't have time for that anymore. I don't know if that's what's missing, but I do know we still have to take personal responsibility for ourselves and kind of tighten our own stuff up as hard as it is. And no matter how much anxiety we may have about it or how weird we feel about doing it, we have to knuckle through it. I don't know how to do it. Everyone's individual situation is so different.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I do know that I've had so many close calls deployed, and I couldn't just stop. And so many good people stopped. And I mean, I really do mean better people than me. I couldn't. I can't.
Well, Eduardo, you've been incredible, and I know your kids want pizza. Keep you here for another hour. I'm not going to do that because I'm just fascinated. We need to schedule another time.
Well, we can schedule another time, and I don't mind talking about this because especially like talking to kids, especially kids that just don't know where they're going. They don't even have friends. Guess what? You have allies and you have friends. Your friends, if they're not gonna brag about you and want you to do better, they're not your friends. I'm telling you that, your friends. It's very difficult to actually have a genuine friend to call you out and say, like, hey, enough of your crap. You're getting fat, you're losing weight. What the hell's wrong with you? You know? Like, what the hell's wrong with you? I can't be around a person to take this many L's. You need to take a W, a small W. Start with a small W for me so we can be friends again. So we can start that momentum again. Something as little as that, I think, is all it took. It's all it took for me because my friends knew me better than I knew myself in some cases. So when I was taking those L's, as I was getting out, I had a few friends do that for me, and I'm still lucky to have them. They're still friends for me today. I'll do anything for them, and those are friends. Those are allies too. So
That's great. I'm going to publish this just like we said on Political Note Radio. We also have another podcast called Kids Quack, and I think I'm going to
okay.
publish this on Kids Quack as well, because this has been an incredible lesson for young people. That it's like you said, if you see a friend doing something wrong, you need to get with him and tell him stop. And like you said, stop. I see you're on a losing streak. Just get one win back in the column, one little win. Score 100 on some little exam, even if
Yeah.
it's not a full-blown essay. Get back one win. Get motivated again.
Or even as small as like, hey, you haven't been to the gym in 2 months? Go to the gym today or else I won't talk to you tomorrow. You know, like something as small as that. Go for 30 minutes. Drag yourself through it. Walk on a treadmill. Do something small. Get that small W. It doesn't have to be something grandiose. It doesn't.
No, it really doesn't. No, that's really an amazing lesson that every friend can share with another friend that's just going down some awful rabbit hole. Go to the gym. Go to the school gym. Lift some weights.
Yeah.
30 minutes. Stop doing everything. Stop taking losses. Get back in the win column here. That's really nice. That's really a nice life lesson. I'm going to start, when I see that with my friends, I'm going to tell them just that, even at my age, which is almost 60. So
We all need it. And I hope my friends keep calling me out until I'm dead. You know, I'm like, hey, what's wrong with you? I'm like, yeah, you're right. You know, I'm not perfect.
No,
I want people to call me out. Those are the people who care about me. You call me out, it's telling me that you love me. So, yeah.
that's really nice. Well, Eduardo, enjoy the day with you. It's a beautiful day out. I don't want you to lose that sunshine. Enjoy the day. Get out there with your kids and enjoy the day.
Let's do this again sometime.
Absolutely. I'm going to be emailing you within a week. I want to do it again, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. That was really awesome.
I like it.
This was great. Thanks, Eduardo.
Hey, you're welcome. Take care.
Take care. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.